When you hear the words ancient civilization, what immediately springs to your mind? Is it the monumental pyramids of Egypt silently towering over the desert sands?
That's a common one.
Or perhaps the grandeur of Rome with its mighty legions and enduring architectural feats?
Rome's legacy is huge.
Maybe the elegant Parthenon, a testament to Athenian democracy and philosophical thought.
All incredible, absolutely.
All incredible, of course, and rightly celebrated. But what if I told you there's one foundational place, a true cornerstone of human development that often gets overlooked in its profound depth?
Okay.
A place that literally laid the groundwork for so much of what we consider civilization today, from our legal systems to our very concept of time. Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're taking a truly deep dive into Mesopotamia, a region so fundamental to human history that it's universally recognized as the cradle of civilization.
That's the one.
Our mission isn't just to skim the surface, it's to immerse ourselves in its rich and often surprising history. We'll journey through its unique geography, trace the epic rise and fall of its powerful empires, dissect their intricate politics, explore their evolving religions, marvel at their groundbreaking achievements,
Covers so much ground.
and even uncover the fascinating nuances of their art, architecture, fashion, and interior design. You've provided us with a stack of incredible sources, and let me tell you, the sheer volume and richness of this material are truly astounding.
It really is.
It's like stepping into a time machine with countless threads leading directly to our modern world.
And to really set the scene for this incredible journey, we absolutely must begin with the land itself. Because the environment here wasn't just a backdrop, it was a primary architect of civilization.
Right.
The name Mesopotamia is derived from ancient Greek, quite literally meaning the land between rivers.
The Tigris and Euphrates.
Exactly. The mighty Tigris and Euphrates. This fertile expanse, nestled within the eastern arc of what we famously call the Fertile Crescent, was an undeniable magnet for early settlers.
Makes sense. Fertile land, water.
Imagine it, a seemingly endless supply of rich alluvial soil, constantly replenished by the river's annual deposits, promising abundant harvest year after year. This natural bounty attracted people from various regions, eager to put down roots, cultivate the land, and watch their small agricultural communities blossom into bustling towns and eventually complex cities.
Okay. Sounds idyllic almost.
Well, yes and no. What's truly fascinating here, and I think it's a profound aha moment for anyone studying early human development, is how the seemingly simple geography of being the land between rivers directly led to a very birth of organized civilization as we know it.
How so?
While the land was incredibly fertile, the water supply from those rivers was notoriously irregular. You could have devastating, unpredictable floods one season, wiping out entire settlements and crops, and then crippling, equally destructive droughts the next, turning lush fields into parched dust bowls.
So feast or famine, essentially.
Pretty much. This inherent environmental challenge, this fundamental struggle with an unpredictable and sometimes violent natural world, was the crucible from which sophisticated human ingenuity and cooperation emerged. It necessitated the development of complex irrigation systems, vast networks of canals designed to bring water to large stretches of territory, managing both the crushing excess of floodwaters and the dire scarcity of drought.
So it wasn't just about having the rivers, but about controlling them, managing their unpredictability. That sounds like a monumental task, far beyond what any single family or even a small village could manage on its own.
Precisely. And this is the critical turning point. Building those irrigation works, digging immense channels, constructing levees, maintaining them against the elements, repairing them after floods.
A constant job.
And then, crucially, allocating the precious water fairly amongst countless farmers and communities. These weren't tasks for individuals or isolated family units. They absolutely demanded collective effort, unprecedented levels of coordination, and highly sophisticated organization across disparate groups.
Okay.
That shared necessity, that urgent existential need for collective action to harness the environment, directly led to the formation of central government and codified laws.
Wow.
It's a powerful testament to how environmental challenges, when confronted collectively, can forge the very path to complex societal structures and ultimately human civilization.
That's such a profound point, that the very need to survive and thrive against nature's whims, to manage a shared vital resource, became the engine for structured society and sophisticated governance.
Exactly.
It transforms our understanding of early human organization from an abstract concept to a practical, urgent necessity. And speaking of structure, Here's where it gets really interesting as we move into the chronological narrative of the epic saga of Mesopotamian civilizations. Over thousands of years, waves of different tribes and empires rose, flourished, and eventually fell, each leaving their indelible and unique mark on the world. We're going to chronologically traverse the Sumerian, Akkadian, Neo-Sumerian, Babylonian, Assyrian, and Persian periods,
A huge sweep of history.
highlighting what made each one unique and how they contributed, layer by layer, to the grand tapestry of human history. Let's start with the Sumerians, who we can truly call the pioneers of progress. Sometime before 4500 BC, a gifted group of people from the east migrated and settled in southern Mesopotamia, specifically in the region they named Sumer.
Right, down in the south.
They began, as many early societies did, as agricultural communities. But their collective efforts in tilling the soil, building rudimentary homes, constructing ingenious levees to control the often destructive floodwaters of the Tigris River, draining stubborn marshes, and, as we discussed, digging those absolutely essential irrigation canals,
All that hard work.
quickly led to something more. Their small agricultural towns didn't just grow. They rapidly transformed into complex urban centers, typically built around towering high temples.
The ziggurats.
Exactly. These temples served not just as spiritual centers for the worship of their deities, but as the very heart of community life, organizing labor, distributing resources, and governing the populace.
And you can literally see their ingenuity everywhere you look, permeating every aspect of their society. The Sumerians were, without a doubt, a highly gifted and incredibly creative people.
What kind of things?
Well, they're widely credited with inventing wheeled transportation, which, when you think about it, revolutionized everything from agriculture and trade to warfare and construction.
Wheel. That's fundamental.
Absolutely. Imagine the impact of being able to move heavy goods or deploy troops with unprecedented speed and efficiency. They also developed the potter's wheel, transforming how vessels and containers were made, leading to more efficient production and a wider array of pottery. Another remarkably practical and innovative invention was the cylinder seal. Small, intricately engraved cylinders made of stone rolled onto wet clay to create a unique impression.
Like a signature.
Exactly like a signature, or marks of ownership or administrative authentication. Fascinating insight into their early bureaucracy and personal lives.
Wow.
But perhaps their most enduring legacy in terms of cultural output, one that truly defines them as pioneers, is the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Ah, yes, Gilgamesh.
This isn't just an old story. It's recognized as the world's very first piece of literature.
That's mind-boggling, isn't it? The very act of crafting complex narratives, exploring universal themes, and transmitting wisdom through written story, all beginning with them. What kind of themes did they explore in Gilgamesh that would resonate so powerfully even today?
That's a great question because it's not just ancient history, it's a window into the human condition. The Epic of Gilgamesh chronicles the journey of a legendary king who initially rules with tyranny, but is transformed through his friendship with Enkidu.
A wild man, right?
Yes, Enkidu. After Enkidu's death, Gilgamesh embarks on a desperate quest for immortality, confronting themes of loss, friendship, the inevitability of death, and the search for meaning in a mortal life.
So really deep, universal stuff.
Absolutely. Imagine, before Homer, before any Greek myths were written down, a tale of a hero wrestling with friendship, loss, and the eternal human quest for immortality. It's the very bedrock upon which narrative itself was built, proving that the earliest humans grappled with the same fundamental questions we do today.
Amazing.
It truly set a blueprint for epic storytelling across cultures for millennia. And this ties back to your earlier point about cooperation and societal structure.
Yes, that collective effort. The demands of increasingly complex community life, the need for coordinated production and efficient distribution of resources, especially with the rapid growth of these urban centers, naturally encouraged the development of distinct social classes and the specialization of labor. You needed efficient farmers, of course, but you also desperately needed skilled builders for ziggurats and irrigation canals, revered priests for spiritual guidance, astute administrators to manage the growing bureaucracy, and specialized artisans to create tools, pottery, and art.
Everyone had a role.
This wasn't just about mere survival. It was about building a functioning, intricate, and ultimately enduring complex society from the ground up, requiring everyone to play a specific, interconnected role.
Absolutely. From the Sumerians, with their foundational innovations, we move chronologically to the Akkadians. By 2340 BC, a powerful Akkadian king named Sargon had managed to establish unprecedented control over much of Sumer.
Sargon of Akkad.
consolidating what might be considered the world's first true empire. The Akkadians were a Semitic people who originated from the north and west of Sumer, eager to expand their territory and influence. While this vast empire was relatively short-lived, lasting only about 150 years, it had a profound and lasting cultural impact. During its reign, both art and literature truly flourished, adapting Sumerian forms, but infusing them with a distinct Akkadian vigor and realism.
So they built on Sumerian foundations.
They did, but with their own style. It's even suggested that the Akkadians may have been the first to cast a hollow, life-size bronze sculpture employing a remarkably advanced technique known as cirripurdu, or the lost wax method.
And the stele of Naram-Sin is such a powerful and vivid example of their artistic prowess and political messaging. It's not just a historical record, it's a bold statement of power and divine right. How is that lost wax method actually done, and what does it tell us about their technological capabilities?
The lost wax method, or cirripurdu, was an astonishing technological feat for its time. Imagine crafting a precise model of the desired sculpture out of wax. Then this wax model would be encased in layers of clay, effectively creating a mold. When heated, the wax inside would melt out or be lost, leaving a perfect hollow mold ready for molten bronze to be poured in.
Clever.
Very clever. This allowed for incredibly detailed, large-scale, and structurally complex sculptures, a significant leap from solid casting. It speaks volumes about their metallurgical knowledge and artistic ambition.
And the stele itself, Naram-Sin.
Right, the stele of Naram-Sin. You see the king himself standing triumphantly at the apex of the composition wearing a horned helmet.
Symbolizing divinity.
Exactly, symbolizing his status not just as a king, but as a god. He is depicted trampling defeated foes under shining stars, with his sheer size and the artwork emphasizing his overwhelming importance and power. Enemy soldiers are shown in striking realism, one begging for mercy, another mortally wounded with an arrow protruding from his neck, all conveying the brutal reality of conquest.
So it's basically propaganda.
Oh, absolutely. A commissioned piece designed to celebrate military conquest and immortalize the king's divine authority. Akkadian rulers were, in fact, the first Mesopotamian rulers to explicitly call themselves kings, marking a significant shift in how they viewed and projected their authority. One notable reign lasted for an impressive 50 years.
50 years is a long time back then.
It certainly was. Following the relatively brief but impactful Akkadian dominance, Mesopotamia experienced a significant cultural resurgence known as the Neo-Sumerian period.
A comeback for Sumerian culture.
Pretty much, yeah. It flourished for about 300 years, beginning around 2150 BC. This was a conscious revival of Sumerian culture and traditions after the period of Akkadian influence waned, almost a return to their cultural roots.
Interesting.
We know of a particularly significant figure from this era, Ur-Nammu, who rebuilt and dedicated temples, actively promoted learning and scribal arts, and notably instituted legal reforms that even demanded mercy for the weak and helpless.
Mercy, that seems quite advanced.
It does, doesn't it? A remarkable concept that hints at a developing moral and ethical code within their legal framework. His impact was so profound that he was even worshipped as a god after his death, underscoring the deep respect and lasting influence he had on his people and the religious landscape of the time.
Then came the Babylonians, who truly earned their title as the Great Lawgivers. Around 1800 BC, after centuries of incessant and often bloody warfare between various Mesopotamian city-states, each vying for supremacy.
Constant conflict.
Hammurabi, a brilliant and strategic Babylonian king, finally gained control and achieved an unprecedented unification of Mesopotamia.
Hammurabi, a huge name in history.
And his most enduring transformative legacy, the Code of Hammurabi. This isn't just an ancient document, it's immensely important, often cited by scholars as the most informative single source for legal history before the classical world.
It's foundational.
Hammurabi himself famously proclaimed his divine mission to crush the evildoer and protect the weak from the strong, establishing a clear purpose for his comprehensive legal framework.
What's truly fascinating here, and essential to understanding its revolutionary nature, is its structure and stated purpose. The Code of Hammurabi is written in a distinct case form style.
Like, if this happens, then that's the consequence.
Exactly. You can imagine it as a series of clear, concise, conditional statements. If X has done such and such, then Y must be the penalty. This systematic, almost algorithmic approach to law made it remarkably accessible and applicable.
But it wasn't exactly equal justice, was it?
No, not by our standards. And if we connect this to the bigger picture of Mesopotamian society, its application reveals the deeply hierarchical nature of their social order. The penalties for a given offense were crucially assessed based on one's social class.
How did that work?
Well, the same act committed against a member of a lower class, like a commoner or a slave, would result in a lighter punishment, perhaps a fine. Whereas committing that same act against the member of a higher class, like a noble or a priest, would incur a far heavier penalty, potentially even death or severe mutilation.
Wow, that's stark.
It is. Even fines themselves were adjusted, with lower amounts for the poor than for the rich. This system, while seemingly harsh and inequitable to modernize, undeniably reinforced and codified the existing social order of the time, making the law a tool for maintaining stability within their rigid social hierarchy.
So it provided a clear framework, even if unequal.
Exactly. A clear, if unequal, framework for justice.
That's a stark reminder of how different their values were, yet how fundamental the idea of a codified law was, even if applied differently. And from the lawgivers, we move to a period of fleeting but truly magnificent resplendence with the Neo-Babylonians.
Nebuchadnezzar's time.
Right. In the early 7th century BC, after a period of Assyrian dominance, King Nebuchadnezzar II rose to power and remarkably rekindled Babylonian supremacy, ushering in a golden age for the city of Babylon itself.
A brief but brilliant flash.
While some of the past splendor was certainly restored to Babylon, a challenging aspect was that many of these grand structures were made primarily of sun-baked clay bricks.
Which don't last forever.
Right. Unfortunately, they crumbled relatively quickly over time compared to stone. Yet, even with these material limitations, they created true wonders that captured the imagination of the ancient world.
Indeed. Nebuchadnezzar's reign saw the construction of the magnificent Ishtar Gate, which was so renowned it was counted among the original 7 wonders of the world.
The Ishtar Gate. Describe it.
Imagine standing before it.
Yeah.
A monumental, round-arched gateway, approximately 47 feet high and 32 feet wide, covered entirely with stunning, deep blue glazed bricks, a color that mimicked the precious lapis lazuli.
That deep blue.
Vivid blue, yeah. Edged with intricate geometric designs in contrasting white and gold. Against that vivid blue background were rows of identical long-necked dragons, symbolizing Marduk, the patron god of Babylon, and bulls representing the weather god Adad, all rendered in white with yellow details.
Incredible imagery.
It was one of 8 grand fortified gateways that marked a sacred processional route through Babylon, leading to the Temple of Marduk, a truly awe-inspiring and intimidating sight.
And the Hanging Gardens. Were they real?
The fabled Hanging Gardens of Babylon. A legendary terraced palace said to have been built by Nebuchadnezzar II for his homesick wife, a Midas of Media, to formalize a crucial alliance. It was meant to create a verdant, artificial mountain within the city walls.
But we're not totally sure.
Well, its existence is still debated by some archaeologists. There's no definitive proof found yet, but its legend has endured for millennia, a testament to Babylonian ambition and imagination.
Moving forward, around 900 BC, after the decline of the Neo-Babylonians, we encounter the formidable Assyrians.
The warriors from the north.
These were often described as warring people from the northern reaches of Mesopotamia who, through relentless military expansion, swept over the entire region, bringing an end to much of the turmoil that had plagued the various city-states.
They were a unifying, if brutal, force.
A powerful, centralized force ruling a vast empire until the early 7th century BC. You might even recognize them from religious texts.
The 3 wise men.
Yes, the 3 wise men mentioned in the Bible were traditionally known to be Assyrians, originating from their powerful northern kingdom. Their reputation truly precedes them as arguably the most militant civilization of ancient Mesopotamia, their might and brutality legendary.
They certainly left their mark that way.
And finally, in 539 BC, the vast empire of the Persians advanced into Mesopotamia, led by the visionary Cyrus the Great.
Cyrus, another huge figure.
These people refer to themselves as Irani and their homeland as Irania, which is, of course, modern-day Iran. Under Cyrus and his formidable successors, particularly Darius the Serf and Xerxes the Serf, the Persian Empire expanded into the largest empire the world had yet seen, stretching from India to Greece.
Massive scale.
Their rule in Mesopotamia marked a new era of vast imperial administration, tolerance, and a different kind of cultural synthesis. They held power over Mesopotamia for over 2 centuries, until 331 BC.
Until Alexander.
Exactly. When their mighty empire was ultimately conquered by Alexander the Great, effectively bringing an end to the independent Mesopotamian civilizations. What an incredible, almost dizzying journey through thousands of years of empires rising and falling, each one building on the foundations of the last, leaving their distinct and often dramatic mark.
It's a lot to take in.
But now, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not just a dry timeline of rulers and battles. These different periods and peoples, through their struggles and innovations, truly built upon each other, contributing to a truly distinct and recognizable Mesopotamian identity that reverberated throughout the ancient world and continues to influence us today.
Exactly. Let's truly deep dive now into the thematic aspects of Mesopotamian society, exploring how these threads woven through millennia ultimately shaped their unique culture and left an indelible mark on human civilization.
Okay, where do we start? Politics.
Let's start there. Politics and governance. What's crucial to understand is that Mesopotamian government wasn't defined by a single foundational document, like a constitution. Instead, it evolved organically over millennia, its changes reflected in scattered cuneiform records and legal codes.
So it was more fluid.
In a way, yes. For most of its recorded history, it was governed by rulers we would definitively call kings. What's particularly fascinating, and a cornerstone of their political thought, is the core belief. The ancient Mesopotamians held a non-rationalistic view, meaning they genuinely believed that the gods were real living entities who had, quite literally, instituted government on Earth. It was seen as a terrestrial extension of their own cosmic administration, a divine mandate for earthly rule.
So leadership wasn't just a human construct, a pragmatic solution to manage society, but a direct, sanctioned extension of divine will. That's a huge distinction from, say, later Greek concepts of democracy or rational governance.
That's a no difference, yeah.
And we can actually trace the evolution of these leadership roles in Sumer. In early Sumer, you had the En.
The high priest or priestess.
Right, the high priest or high priestess of the city's patron deity. They were essentially the local god's representative on Earth, managing the vast temple lands, administering the temple economy, and overseeing the crucial religious rituals that ensured divine favor.
A powerful role.
Then, as society grew more complex and the demands of a larger, more urbanized population increased, a second distinct office emerged. The ENSI.
The governor.
The governor of the city-state. Their duty was more secular, managing civic affairs, including law and order, commerce, and increasingly military matters.
So a separation of powers almost.
In a rudimentary way, perhaps. And then in times of extreme crisis, perhaps a devastating flood, a prolonged drought, or a military threat from a neighboring city-state, a new temporary figure could arise. The Ulgau.
Literally, great man.
The great man or king.
Yeah.
This individual might be appointed by the people through a council or a popular assembly, entrusted with supreme authority only as long as the emergency lasted.
Temporary dictator, kind of.
Sort of. But if crises persisted or became repetitive, and given the volatile environment and constant intercity conflict, they often did, the Lugal's authority could become permanent, solidifying into hereditary kingship.
Ah, so crisis creates kings.
It seems that way. This illustrates a highly dynamic system where practical needs and recurring challenges could formalize and centralize power structures, transforming temporary wartime leaders into permanent monarchs. It's an incredibly adaptive form of early governance.
And as these Lugals, these kings, gained greater and more centralized power, they absolutely required a strong divine mandate to legitimize it beyond mere military strength.
They needed the god's blessing.
Definitely. They were no longer just a leader of a single community, but the master of a wider domain, potentially an empire. To affirm this, they had to be seen as chosen by heaven, with this divine selection often affirmed by the high priest of a nationally venerated deity.
Is that where that saying comes from?
We're saying,
Man is the shadow of God, but the king is God's reflection.
ah, yes, that's a powerful one that encapsulates this. It's a profound statement on their perceived connection to the divine, suggesting kings embodied the divine presence on earth.
And succession. Was it always father to son?
Not strictly. Though royal dynasties flourished and succession was generally patrilineal, direct descent wasn't always a strict requirement. A king might be followed by a brother or even a non-firstborn son if it served the stability of the kingdom.
Practicality mattered.
Very much so. In terms of their ceremonial function, the symbols of kingship were clear and potent. The crown, the throne, and the scepter. Each played a vital, symbolic role when a new king was installed, representing his authority, legitimacy, and connection to the divine.
And the king's job description.
Pretty extensive. The king's duties were well defined. He was expected to guide the most important religious rituals, administer justice as a supreme judge, and direct the vital affairs of state in both peace and war, commanding armies and forging alliances.
Sounds like a busy guy.
Absolutely. To manage all of this, a truly robust and sophisticated bureaucracy was essential. This included a powerful priestly hierarchy, a well-structured judiciary, a commanding army leader with numerous subordinates, and a large, intricate palace staff.
Lots of support staff.
Oh, yes. This staff comprised a chief of staff, a royal cupbearer, countless servants, and, of course, a ready corps of highly trained scribes, the record keepers, chroniclers, and legal administrators of the age. Alongside these were occasional architects or sculptors and their apprentices, always ready to execute grand commissions. These officials also provided vital advice to the king and conducted diplomacy with other powers.
So a complex government machine.
Surprisingly sophisticated for the time, yes.
And circling back to what we touched on earlier, a testament to the sophisticated governance is that Mesopotamian societies also developed some of the world's oldest and most comprehensive legal codes.
Hammurabi's code being the prime example.
With Hammurabi's code being, as we said, the most famous and the most informative single source for legal history before the classical world. Its case form style, the if X then Y approach, was remarkably systematic and practical, offering clear guidance. And, as we detailed, the penalties were heavily influenced by social class, explicitly reinforcing the existing social order. It's a transparent window into their deeply hierarchical society where justice was not necessarily equal, but it was codified and predictable within its own framework.
A crucial point to remember.
Right. So moving on from politics, religion, it sounds like it was woven into everything.
It's impossible to overstate its pervasiveness in Mesopotamian life. They were deeply polytheistic, meaning they worshipped a vast pantheon of gods.
How many?
Thousands, actually. While some were major deities revered across city-states, there were also thousands of minor, local, or specialized gods and goddesses, with the entire pantheon numbering nearly 2,000 deities.
Wow, 2,000 gods.
And over millennia, the very concept and perception of these gods evolved, reflecting the changing fortunes, societal structures, and understanding of the Mesopotamian people.
How did they evolve?
Well, in the 4th millennium BC, during the early agricultural periods, the earliest gods were primarily personifications or names of natural forces and elements, directly related to their agrarian existence: the sun, the moon, the earth, the storm, things vital for farming.
Makes sense, connected to survival.
Then, in the 3rd millennium, as Mesopotamian government developed and centralized, and as city-states gained more power, the perception of the gods shifted dramatically. They were no longer just forces of nature, but became perceived as powerful, often anthropomorphic rulers.
Like cosmic kings.
Exactly. Rulers not only over individual city-states, but also over the entire cosmos. And, for example, the god of the sky and the highest deity in the Sumerian pantheon was understood as the fundamental force, the ultimate authority, and the raw cosmic power that gave being to all nature and even to other gods. It reflected their growing understanding of hierarchy and organization.
Interesting parallel to their politics.
Very much so. By the 2nd millennium BC, there was another significant shift. Gods were increasingly given roles as parents, making them more relatable and imbuing them with familial qualities. This period also saw the rise of personal gods, who served as objects of individual devotion.
More personal connection.
Yes, signaling a more intimate and personal relationship between humans and their deities, beyond the grand public rituals. It was during this time that the foundational myths, such as the Enuma Elish, the Babylonian creation myth, and the famous Gilgamesh epic, were formalized and widely disseminated, narratives that profoundly shaped their worldview and spiritual understanding.
So the stories became really important then.
Crucial. The Sumer-Akkadian pantheon, in particular, saw 6 deities gain widespread importance. An, or Anu, the sky god, supreme and distant. Enlil, or Bel, the god of wind and flood, the dispenser of destiny. Nana, or Sin, the moon god, patron of Utu, or Shamash, the sun god, god of justice and divination. Enki, or Ea, the water god and god of wisdom, master of magic and crafts. And Ninhursag, or Aruru, the mother goddess responsible for creation and birth.
That's quite a lineup.
Major players, you could say. Beyond these foundational 6, there were other crucial deities who played central roles in their religious life. Tiamat, for instance, was the Babylonian goddess of chaos, a primordial sea monster often associated with the creation myth.
Chaos monster sounds dramatic.
Very. And then there's Marduk, the Babylonian god of creation and justice, who rose to supreme prominence in the Babylonian pantheon, particularly after Hammurabi. Dumuzi, or Tammuz, was the Mesopotamian god of fertility, responsible for life and vegetation and ensuring children for women, a deity whose annual descent into the underworld marked the changing seasons.
Like Persephone.
Similar concept, yes. His wife, Inanna, or Ishtar, was a Babylonian mother goddess who famously descended into the underworld in a powerful myth of death and rebirth. Ishtar stands out as particularly significant. She was the universal queen of fertility, love, war, and justice, often depicted as a fierce woman warrior.
A complex figure.
Extremely. Of all the deities who emerged in Sumer and Akkad, Ishtar was arguably the closest to being universally worshipped across the entire region. She was the best known and most loved deity, her immense popularity leading to her worship under different names in other cultures throughout the Near East, truly a cross-cultural phenomenon.
So how did they practice this religion day to day?
Religious practices were not abstract concepts. They were deeply integrated into daily life and the physical landscape. Within temple grounds, a massive structure called a ziggurat would rise.
Those stepped pyramids?
Exactly. A symbolic mountain made of brick-covered earth. These towering structures were considered the sacred meeting places for gods and humans, a literal connection point between the divine and earthly realms. The room atop the ziggurat, the highest point, was understood to be the god's court, a sacred space distinct from their private, unseen abode within the temple complex, often separated by a wall and a door.
So the god lived there.
That was the belief. Priests taught that the deities were alive, possessing needs and desires, and therefore they were cared for as if they were living, tangible people. Worshippers would praise and petition the gods, offering libations, ritualistic pouring of liquids and sacrificial animals in numerous temples dedicated to various deities throughout the cities.
So constant interaction.
It was believed the god literally ruled the community from their palace atop the ziggurat, acting as the divine sovereign. Communication with the divine was perceived as a two-way street. The deities communicated through signs observed in the stars, through prophetic dreams, or through signs in the entrails of animals offered in sacrifice, which priests would interpret.
Reading entrails.
Okay, yes. Divination was a big part of it. Humans, in turn, communicated with the gods through elaborate prayers and offerings.
Did religion offer an afterlife?
Not really a promise of immortality and a blissful afterlife, no. But it certainly offered tangible benefits in this life. Prosperity, health, protection, and a sense of cosmic order. The hierarchy of priests within the state temples controlled vast areas of productive land, underscoring their immense wealth, power, and influence in both the religious and economic life of society.
Priests held a lot of power then.
Immense power. Moving now to their achievements and innovations, beyond the foundational development of government and law, Mesopotamians gifted us with concepts and technologies that are still fundamental to our daily lives today.
Like what?
One striking example which truly reveals their sophisticated understanding of mathematics and astronomy is the sexagesimal system, their base 60 numerical system.
Base 60.
Yes. We still use this system today for the calculation of time, 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, and for angles, giving us 360 degrees in a circle.
Wow, I never realized that came from them.
Think about how crucial that was for early astronomers mapping celestial bodies, or for merchants needing precise measurements for trade. This system, due to its divisibility by many factors, made calculations incredibly efficient and accurate, laying the groundwork for complex mathematics that influences everything from navigation to engineering even today.
That's huge.
And legal theory, as we've discussed, flourished exceptionally early and was remarkably sophisticated, evident in their comprehensive collections of laws that provided a framework for societal order.
Right, Hammurabi again.
And others too. Their technical accomplishments span across various fields, demonstrating a deep practical ingenuity, from impressive architecture and intricate figurines to advanced pottery techniques.
But the big one has to be writing, right? Cuneiform.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Perhaps their most iconic and transformative innovation, one that changed the course of human communication forever, is cuneiform. This revolutionary writing system, which initially developed in the great Sumerian city of Uruk,
Okay.
evolved from earlier pictographic signs inscribed on small clay tablets into the highly stylized, abstract, wedge-shaped characters we recognize as cuneiform today.
Wedge-shaped. How did they make that?
The process was ingenious and surprisingly efficient for its time. Scribes would use a stylus, a writing instrument made from a straight reed with a three-cornered end.
A reed stylus.
This stylus would be pressed into soft, wet clay tablets, creating the distinctive wedge-shaped impressions. This brilliant invention fundamentally impacted every aspect of their society. It was used for everything from keeping meticulous administrative records and executing complex contracts to, crucially, creating their rich culture.
Like Gilgamesh.
Exactly, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, and comprehensive law codes like Hammurabi's. This written record allowed for the accumulation and transmission of knowledge across generations and vast distances, truly catalyzing the development of complex societies.
It literally enabled history.
In many ways, yes. Later, the Persians, building on the long legacy of metalworking that stretched back to the Bronze Age, brought the art of metalworking to an astonishing level of perfection.
Persian metalwork.
Gold, exquisite gold vessels, intricate jewelry. Their skilled craftsmen produce pieces that display some of the most intricate and sophisticated techniques of goldworking, including granulation and cloisonné, testament to their mastery of this challenging medium.
Okay, let's shift to their art. You mentioned human-animal combinations.
Yes, when we look at Mesopotamian art, one common and consistently fascinating element you immediately notice across various periods is the frequent combination of human and animal features, often blending the two into powerful symbolic forms.
Like the lamassu, human-headed bulls.
Precisely, like the majestic human-headed bulls we see in many works. It makes you wonder if they were the original pioneers of superhero design, blending human intellect with animal might.
Maybe. Let's delve into some key examples that truly bring their artistic vision to life and illustrate their cultural values. The work of Es.
The work of Es, discovered in the Inanna Temple in Uruk and dating back to around 3200–3000 BC, it's considered the first monumental narrative relief sculpture.
Telling a story in pictures.
Exactly. It's a stunning example of visual storytelling, divided into 3 registers or friezes that depict the process of presenting offerings to the goddess Inanna, showcasing staple commodities like barley, flax, flowing water, and meticulously detailed sheep and rams. It offers a visual story of their agricultural life, religious devotion, and the interconnectedness of their society.
And the standard of that sounds important.
No, it's truly remarkable. Discovered in a royal tomb and dating to approximately 2600–2400 BC. This exquisite mosaic, crafted with shell and precious lapis lazuli, set into putamen.
Lapis again, that blue stone.
Yes, highly prized. It's a masterpiece that visually encapsulates the social order and division of labor that prevailed in early Sumerian society. One side, known as the war panel, vividly depicts military victory, while the peace panel shows a royal banquet and the fruits of agricultural bounty.
War and peace.
Exactly. And you can distinctly see those bearded, human-headed bulls in the uppermost panels. The figures themselves are often shown in a distinctive composite frontal and profile view.
What does that mean?
It means the artist cleverly indicated those human bodily parts necessary to communicate the form, avoiding positions that would conceal key characteristics. For example, the eye is shown frontally in a profile head, and the torso is frontal while the legs are in profile. It's an efficient and highly expressive way of depicting the human form, emphasizing clarity over naturalism.
Okay, I get it. What about the bull-headed lyre soundbox from Queen Puwabi's tomb?
Another astonishing testament to the Sumerian imagination and artistic skill. This impressive soundbox, part of a ceremonial lyre, features a magnificent bull's head finished in gleaming gold leaf, with the beard and other intricate details fashioned from lapis lazuli.
Gold and lapis. Very rich.
Extremely. The combination of human and animal features is a common thread in ancient Near Eastern art, with the bull often represented due to its immense power and its sacred connection to fertility and protective forces against wild beasts that threaten their vital cattle.
And the panels on the lyre, with the animals.
Right. What's even more enchanting are the 4 inlaid panels on the lyre itself, depicting anthropomorphic animals.
Yeah.
A dog wearing a dagger and carrying a table, a lion with a beverage vessel, an ass playing a lyre, and a scorpion man at the very bottom.
Animals acting like people.
Exactly. These scenes hint at fables or myths, showing a playful and deeply symbolic narrative side to their art.
Fascinating. And the statues from Abu Temple, those praying figures.
The Tel Asmar statues, dating from around 2900–2600 BC. They're striking for their profound spiritual presence. These 11 figures, found buried together, all stand rigidly erect with their hands folded over their chests, typically in a gesture of eternal prayer or reverence.
The big eyes are distinctive.
Very distinctive. Their eyes, inlaid with shell and black limestone, are disproportionately large, serving as powerful symbols of wakefulness and spiritual attentiveness, staring forward with an intense, unblinking gaze.
Like they're constantly watching the god.
That's the idea. The male figures are distinguished by stylized, often triangular beards and long patterned hair, while the female figures wear long, flowing robes. The taller figures, some standing at an imposing 30 inches, visually signify their power, importance, and perhaps their status as priests or high officials within the community, eternally present before the deity.
Let's revisit Akkadian art, specifically that stela of Naram-Sin. We talked about the propaganda aspect, but artistically.
Artistically, it's revolutionary. The overwhelming importance of the victorious Akkadian king is emphasized not just by his sheer monumental size, but also by his central and elevated position at the very top of the relief, literally ascending a mountain.
Closer to the gods.
Right. His distinctive horned helmet clearly symbolizes his status as a god, a groundbreaking self-deification for a king. Placed strategically before a triangular mountain with celestial bodies, stars and sun shining down upon him, legitimizing his divine mandate as he decisively tramples the body of a defeated foe.
And the enemies are shown realistically.
Much more so than previous Sumerian art, the scene masterfully portrays the enemy soldiers in a more realistic, emotionally charged manner. One is begging for mercy, his hand outstretched, while another, mortally wounded, is attempting to pull an arrow from his neck, all rendered with an impactful realism. It's an incredibly dynamic and detailed piece.
Okay. What about the Neo-Sumerian period, Gudea statues?
Right. Moving into the Neo-Sumerian period's portraiture, particularly evident in the seated statues of Gudea, the ruler of Lagash, we see a return to some Sumerian conventions, but with a new emphasis on quiet, dignity, and devotion.
How do they look?
These ruler figures are typically depicted seated or standing, with hands folded as if in prayer. The figures are characterized by a solid, almost block-like form, with no openings between the arms and body, giving a somewhat stiff but imposing pose.
But the faces are realistic.
Often, yes. The face often appears to be a true portrait, with the nose, cheeks, and chin realistically formed, contrasting with more stylized, incised eyebrows and a solemn expression. The overall effect is one of quiet dignity, pious contemplation, and enduring stability, often with one shoulder exposed, emphasizing their humility before the gods.
And the Code of Hammurabi stele, again, the art at the top.
Beyond its legal significance artistically, it features a compelling relief sculpture at the very top. This scene depicts King Hammurabi standing reverently before the seated sun god Shamash.
The god of justice.
The god of justice, yes. Shamash, wearing a horned helmet that signifies his divinity, extends symbols of power, a ring, and a rod to Hammurabi, clearly bestowing upon him the authority to deliver justice and create these laws.
So the art reinforces the law's divine origin.
Precisely. Below this pivotal scene, the legal code itself is meticulously inscribed across 51 columns, comprising approximately 300 statutes. It's a remarkable fusion of legal decree and divine legitimization through visual art, making the law itself a sacred object.
Now, Assyrian reliefs, warlike.
Very much so. The Assyrian relief sculpture, found extensively on the walls of their imposing walled citadels like Khorsabad, Nineveh, and Nimrud, is particularly distinctive and powerful. These carved stone reliefs continued some Sumerian conventions, but placed a heavy emphasis on raw physical strength.
Bulging muscles.
Highly exaggerated tendons, bulging muscles, and angular, forceful gestures, yes. The palace walls were almost entirely adorned with low-relief scenes of war and pillage, often accompanied by cuneiform inscriptions celebrating Assyrian military conquests and the brutality of their campaigns. These were not subtle. They were powerful, explicit displays of Assyrian might, designed to intimidate.
Intimidating subjects and visitors.
Absolutely, both their subjects and foreign envoys.
Beyond scenes of conquest, the palace walls at Nineveh and Nimrud also famously featured meticulously detailed depictions of royal hunts, particularly lion hunts.
The lion hunts, right.
These scenes, showcasing the king's courage, physical prowess, and divine favor, was another crucial means of projecting power and control over the natural world.
Proving their dominance.
What's truly poignant, however, is the almost heartbreaking but incredibly realistic depiction of injured or dying animals within these hunt scenes. There's a particular relief of a bleeding lioness.
Ah, the dying lioness, it's famous.
Rendered with remarkably clear musculature and agonizingly realistic detail as it suffers from multiple arrow wounds, dragging its hind legs. It's considered one of the most touching and sensitive works of ancient art, despite its grim subject matter, showing an unexpected capacity for empathy, even within a culture renowned for its ferocity.
It is quite moving, surprisingly so. And of course, we cannot discuss Assyrian art without mentioning the colossal Lamassu guardians.
Those massive winged bulls at the gates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Massive, awe-inspiring sculptures, typically standing at the entrances to royal palaces, winged, human-headed bulls or sometimes lions, with 5 legs.
Why 5 legs?
The 5th leg was cleverly added to allow the creature to appear 4-legged from the front, looking static and watchful, and 4-legged in profile, looking like it's striding forward powerfully.
You ever trick?
Very. They bore the facial features of the ruler and often had cuneiform inscriptions carved on them, serving as powerful symbols of royal and divine protection. They were explicitly designed to inspire awe and fear among those who passed beneath their gaze, explicit manifestations of the ruler's superhuman status and the empire's might.
Definitely intimidating. And finally, Persian metalworking.
Yes. With the Persians, we see the perfection of metalworking, which had flourished since the Bronze Age across Mesopotamia. Persian craftsmen produced exquisite gold vessels, rhytons, drinking horns, and intricate jewelry that display some of the most sophisticated techniques of gold working, including repoussé, chasing, and intricate inlay, setting a standard for luxury arts that influenced cultures far beyond their empire.
Okay, let's turn to Mesopotamian architecture. Materials were key, you said? Mud brick, mostly.
Absolutely. The availability of materials and their ingenious solutions to inherent limitations significantly shaped their enduring symbols and urban landscapes. The primary construction material for nearly all cities and major buildings was sun-baked mud brick, made from the plentiful clay deposits of the rivers.
Easy to get, but maybe not so durable.
Exactly. This material, while readily available and easy to work with, had poor lasting quality when exposed to the elements or time, which is why today we are left mostly with the crumbling ruins of what were once magnificent structures. However, it's fascinating to note that mud brick houses with characteristic domed or vaulted roofs are still in use in regions of Iraq and Syria.
Still used today.
A direct and living link to these ancient building practices, demonstrating their fundamental practicality.
How do they make the mud bricks stronger?
To compensate for the mud brick's inherent limitations, they displayed remarkable ingenuity. Bitumen, which is essentially ancient asphalt, a natural petroleum-like substance seeping to the Earth's surface in various parts of Iraq, was a critical innovation.
Bitumen, like tar.
Sort of, yeah. It was used as a powerful adhesive and waterproofing agent, bonding to brick even better than ordinary mortar, creating incredibly strong and weather-resistant structures. Reeds, due to their natural buoyancy and abundance in the marshy southern regions, had long been used for building boats, but early Mesopotamians also used bundles of reeds to construct their houses, often with a unique tensile strength.
Reed houses, interesting.
And they also innovated with the sophisticated use of arches and corbel forms for roofs and gateways, allowing for larger spans and more complex structures than simple post and lintel. And of course, they incorporated elaborate inlay and glazed tiles for decoration, adding vibrant color and intricate patterns to their otherwise earthen structures.
Which brings us back to the ziggurats.
Without question, the quintessential Mesopotamian architectural form, embodying their religious devotion and engineering prowess. These massive step pyramids of brick-covered earth, like the one built for King Ur-Nammu in Ur around 2100 BC, literally symbolized sacred mountains.
Connecting earth and heaven.
A monumental link between earth and heaven, yes. Each Sumerian city-state grew around the shrine of a local god, and the ziggurats served as the monumental temple platform, satisfying the deep human desire to connect with the heavens, reaching skyward towards the divine. They truly were towering symbolic mountains, a focal point of the urban landscape and the spiritual heart of the city.
And the Ishtar Gate in Babylon, you mentioned its glazed tile.
An absolute masterpiece of glazed tile artistry and architectural grandeur. It's visually stunning with its deep blue glazed bricks, contrasted by white and gold geometric designs and alternating rows of identical long-necked dragons, symbols of Marduk, and bulls, symbols of Adad.
So symbolic and beautiful.
Very much so. It stood as one of 8 colossal gateways along a grand processional route through Babylon, an entrance to the royal palace complex, faced with brilliantly colored lapis lazuli-like glazed tiles.
And the hanging gardens. Legendary maybe, but still part of the architectural story.
Exactly. While their precise existence remains a subject of archaeological debate, they represent a legendary palace complex built for Amytis, King Nebuchadnezzar II's wife, a verdant, terraced marvel designed to formalize that crucial alliance and perhaps ease her homesickness, adding to the city's architectural mystique and legendary status.
Assyrian architecture. Mostly fortified citadels.
Yes, the Assyrians, known for their militancy, built incredibly imposing Assyrian citadels, vast fortified and walled palace complexes like those at Khorsabad and Nineveh, often featuring those colossal Lamassu guardians at their entrances, strategically designed to inspire awe and fear.
But the peak of Persian architecture was Persepolis.
For the highest accomplishment of Persian architecture, a testament to their administrative power and cultural synthesis, we must look to Persepolis, the city of Persians, built by Darius I and Xerxes the World in modern-day Iran.
What was so special about it?
Persepolis was truly a marvel of imperial architecture, a ceremonial capital designed to impress. The most important and awe-inspiring room was the enormous audience hall, or Apadana. A vast, hypostyle hall designed to accommodate a staggering 10,000 guests, with 100 towering columns, each 65 feet high, supporting magnificent wooden ceilings.
10,000 guests. Huge.
Massive. And unlike the aggressive military scenes prevalent in Assyrian reliefs, the reliefs lining the monumental stairways leading to the Apadana at Persepolis depicted people from across the vast Persian Empire, wearing their distinctive ethnic attire, bringing tribute and offerings to the king.
So showing unity, not just conquest.
Exactly. This emphasized the king's power through diplomacy, multicultural dominion, and prosperity rather than overt military conquest. A truly unique and visually striking architectural detail at Persepolis are the bull capitals.
Bulls on top of columns.
The top portions of columns decorated with the figures of two colossal bulls facing in opposite directions, supporting the roof. These were powerful symbols of fertility, strength, and royal power, their lowered heads and tucked legs giving them a powerful, dynamic appearance as they seemingly carry the weight of the empire.
Okay, let's step inside. What about interior design and everyday life? Palaces first.
Palace interiors typically featured a sophisticated layout with two distinct courtyards, connected by a grand throne room that also served as the primary audience hall.
Public and private areas.
Right. The outer courtyard was for public events, administrative functions, and receiving petitioners, while the inner courtyard was reserved for private ceremonies and the royal family's personal use. Surrounding the outer courtyard were rooms for offices, workshops, and extensive storage, while the inner courtyard was bordered by the more intimate residential quarters for the royal family and their domestic needs.
And decorations, paintings, reliefs.
Walls were often adorned with vibrant paintings of ceremonial scenes or, as we saw in Assyrian times, with magnificent sculpted reliefs narrating royal hunts or military triumphs.
And regular houses. Excavations at Ur showed us some things.
Yes. Excavations at the ancient Sumerian city of Ur, dating back 4,000 years, have uncovered remarkably well-preserved traces of closely packed neighborhoods of private houses. These comfortable homes, typically constructed of brick, featured a sensible layout with a central roof courtyard, around which smaller rectangular rooms were intimately grouped.
Courtyard was central.
Very much so.
Yeah.
The kitchen might be a separate room, but often it was cleverly incorporated into the courtyard with an open brick hearth built against a wall for cooking. Storage was practical and ingenious. Large, covered jars, often lined with bitumen for waterproofing, were used for food storage.
Bitumen again.
While semi-porous jars held water, keeping it refreshingly cool through natural evaporation.
Clever. What other rooms?
Other rooms in these homes included a communal living room, private bedrooms, a basic bathroom area, and for the well-to-do, separate servants' quarters, reflecting the social stratification even within domestic settings.
And furniture. Was it elaborate?
Actually, furniture was minimal but functional. Built-in benches of mud brick, simple stools, and low tables carved from the readily available palm wood. For added comfort, and perhaps a touch of luxury, armchairs with curved backs woven from plaited reeds were common.
So practical stuff. Beds.
The wealthy enjoyed higher wooden beds, sometimes with decorative elements, while the less affluent made do with simpler arrangements like reed mats, woven woolen throw rugs, or thin mattresses spread directly on the floor for sleeping.
And light. How did they see at night?
Homes were deliberately kept dark and interior-focused to ward off the intense heat of the day. Artificial light was provided by small, slipper-shaped clay lamps, featuring a narrow, pinched end to hold the wick, casting a soft, flickering glow.
Okay, let's talk fashion. What were they wearing? Wool, mostly.
Primarily wool, yes, which was abundant from their flocks and sometimes linen, woven from flax. The Persians, with their vast empire and trade networks, later introduced silk, likely imported from distant China, adding a new level of luxury.
Silk. Fancy. What about specific garments, the konakis?
The konakis. A distinctive and iconic garment, particularly for the Sumerians, Assyrians, and early Babylonians of both sexes. These were skirts made from twisted tufts of wool or flax, arranged symmetrically, sometimes in a series of flounces or a fringe border.
Sounds kind of shaggy.
Visually striking, yeah, and provided warmth and structure. Gradually, however, they were replaced in ordinary male costume by the more practical and adaptable tunic with sleeves, reflecting evolving styles and needs.
And headwear. Queen Pwabi sounded amazing.
Oh, it was exquisite and truly opulent. It featured 20 delicate gold leaves, 2 strings of lapis and carnelian beads draped around her head, and a large, intricately worked gold comb, along with chokers, necklaces, and impressive lunate-shaped earrings. Pure luxury.
What about men's headwear?
Men, particularly in earlier periods, wore headgear shaped somewhat like an inverted flower pot, while warriors donned distinctive helmets, sometimes with a blunt spike at the top. The Persians, adapting to their colder plateau climate, adopted a soft felt cap.
A Phrygian cap.
Exactly, which the Greeks later called the Phrygian cap, a style that was famously adopted centuries later by French revolutionaries as the red cap of liberty, showing how symbols can transcend millennia. The Medes, closely related to the Persians, were similar but typically looser garments and different styles of caps.
Hair and beards, long and curled.
Yes, hair was worn long by both sexes across many periods, often meticulously curled and sometimes even interwoven with precious gold thread, especially by the Assyrians, who favored prominent square beards and heavy stylized curls, reflecting an emphasis on virility and power.
And veiling. That started back then.
An interesting social custom, earliest recorded in Assyrian law, actually required married women to wear veils in public, a practice that highlights specific social distinctions and norms of modesty.
Any other fashion details? Shawls, jewelry?
Later, protective leather clothing, particularly for warriors, was covered with metal plaques for added defense. Fringed shawls were frequently draped around the body, complemented by bracelets and heavy jewelry crafted from gold, silver, and semi-precious stones. The king often wore a distinctive fez-shaped headdress, or tiramitre, sometimes with streamers, signifying his royal status.
Assyrian clothing looked like togas.
Somewhat, yeah. Assyrian clothing, typically a combination of a shawl and tunic, resembled the Roman toga in its draping and featured repetitive, almost grid-like patterns reflecting their organized aesthetic.
And Persian clothes were more tailored.
Right. Persians, adapted to their colder climate, had more tailored coats with set-in sleeves, collars, and lapels, and even distinct right and left shoes.
Left and right shoes, that's specific.
A pragmatic innovation, yes. Notably, Persian garments generally lacked the fringes so common in earlier Mesopotamian cultures.
Okay, lastly, colors and ornamentation. What was their palette?
Their artistic palette was quite defined and deliberately chosen, often based on naturally available pigments. White, made from gypsum, red from iron oxide, often from hematite, blue from copper oxide, or the highly prized lapis lazuli, and black from lampblack or bitumen.
Not much yellow.
Yellow was comparatively rare in their architectural and artistic schemes, though you would see sun yellow, that deep lapis lazuli blue, and the earthy mud brick red as dominant hues.
How did they apply the paint?
Mineral pigments were typically diluted in water, with egg white or casein from milk used as binding agents, creating a durable paint. The overall design would be sketched out first, then colors meticulously applied and figures often outlined in black for definition.
And mosaics, like the standard Ur.
Exactly. Mosaics were a significant and visually stunning form of ornamentation, with the royal standard Ur being the most famous example we discussed. It used bitumen as a powerful glue, meticulously setting tiny bits of blue lapis lazuli for the background, and pieces of gleaming shell or mother of pearl for the figures, creating intricate and vibrant scenes.
And glass. What did they use that for?
Glass was another favored medium, particularly in a deep blue hue, intentionally mimicking the highly desirable color of lapis lazuli. It was used for decorative vases, elegant bottles, especially perfume bottles, and in sculpture for small figurines and as inlaid eyes, adding a lifelike glimmer to statues. Designs often featured geometric patterns like chevrons, linear stripes, and wavy motifs, reflecting their preference for order and repetition in aesthetics.
So after this incredible journey through millennia of Mesopotamian history, society, and innovation, what does this all mean for us today, for you, the listener? How does understanding all this shape our view of human progress and our own world?
Well, the enduring legacies of Mesopotamia are truly profound and, frankly, often underestimated. We've explored how the very concept of organized codified laws like Hammurabi's Code and sophisticated organized government structures with their evolving roles and bureaucracies took root there.
Law and government, huge foundation.
Absolutely. The development of writing, specifically cuneiform, fundamentally changed human communication and knowledge transmission. Their advancements in mathematics, especially the sexagesimal system,
Our clocks and circles.
still influences our measurement of time and angles today. Architectural forms like the arch and the ziggurat, and our understanding of complex social structures with specialized labor all have deep origins in this ancient land.
So much started there.
These deep dives are so crucial because they reveal the fundamental human drive to organize, to create, and to understand their world. They faced similar challenges to what we do today: managing resources, building resilient societies, expressing their beliefs, and confronting existential questions. And their ingenious solutions became the very bedrock of subsequent civilizations, leaving a traceable lineage directly to us.
Exactly. Mesopotamian history isn't just about ancient ruins in a dusty, distant past. It's about the very foundations of how we live, how we govern ourselves, how we express ourselves creatively, and how we innovate as human beings. It offers those incredible aha moments about the surprisingly ancient origins of so many things we often take for granted in our modern lives, from the minute hands on our watches to the legislative processes that shape our societies. It's a powerful reminder that our present is deeply rooted in their past. We've covered an incredible scope today, from the marshy lands between two rivers that birthed civilization to the towering ziggurats reaching for the divine, from the world's first literature to the meticulous laws of Hammurabi, and the nuanced details of their everyday fashion and the vibrant colors that adorn their world.
A real deep dive.
Thank you for joining us on this absolutely fascinating journey through the cradle of civilization.
And as you reflect on what we've discussed today, perhaps consider this: how a civilization's fundamental struggle with its environment, like Mesopotamia's constant battle with its unpredictable rivers, a force both life-giving and destructive, can not only drive the basic need for survival, but also spark profound societal, technological, and even artistic advancements that echo for millennia, shaping the very course of human history.
Adversity driving innovation.
It's a powerful reminder of how adversity, when confronted with collective ingenuity, can be the catalyst for humanity's greatest achievements.
Absolutely. Keep asking those questions, keep digging into the origins of our world, and keep embarking on your own deep dives into the incredible tapestry of knowledge around you. We'll catch you next time.